Did a group of meditators prevent Trump's assassination? Are we now living in an alternate 5D timeline? Imagine the reality we'd be living in if the shooter had succeeded. Welcome to the Thunder Wizard YouTube channel, where we question our reality and then change it. And I suggest that you think about this, questioning your reality and then changing it. Please show up later today. This is Wednesday, and we are going to have a live guided interdimensional meditation to bring the 5D solar flash event. That is going to be at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. We do it every week, Wednesdays and Saturdays. Please show up. All right, so I want to ask you a question. Do you believe that you have the ability to change reality? Do you believe that you have the ability to influence the timeline that we live in? I have always believed that we have the ability to create our own reality. And I've taught about that for a long time. I teach it in my book, The Shamanic Secret Commandment to a Perfect Life, which you can find on Amazon, Kindle, or Audible. You can also go to my website, michaelwilliamdenny, DENNEY.com, and you can see all of my books there. The Shamanic Secret Commandment to a Perfect Life. And in that book, I talk about how if you make the decision to follow your greatest happiness, that the universe will then align itself to create that reality for you. And that has always been true. I've still been human this whole time, and I always have the same fears and doubts that everybody has. But whenever I stay true to that, everything always aligns. Always. It magically aligns in my favor in the best possible ways. And that's still true today. So I want you to be asking yourself that question. Do you have the ability to create your reality? And if that's the case, then what does that have to do with this question I'm asking? Did a group of meditators prevent Trump's assassination? And are we now living in an alternate 5D timeline? So do you believe that spiritually minded people have the ability to alter our future? You may not know this, but there was a study done, it was a long time ago. It was an experiment, I believe, actually, that was documented. I don't know what city it was, but they found a city that had a bad crime rate. And so they had local people there meditate, I don't know how often, once a week, or I don't know how often they did, but they would meditate on a regular basis with the intention of reducing crime. That was their only intention. And the reduction in crime was measurable, like astonishingly measurable. And I believe once they stopped meditating, that the crime went back up again. So we know, even scientifically, that people's intentions, if they come together as a group, they have the ability to change reality. Now, when we look at it from a physics perspective, I've talked about this, and I recommend that you look at it too. The double slit experiment that has been going on for decades to determine whether or not light is a particle or a wave. And without getting into all the details, the end result is that every single time they perform these experiments, light performs either as a particle or a wave, depending on the expectation of the observer. And in the most recent experiments, they found that not only is light a particle or a wave depending on your expectation, light will go back into time, all the way back to the beginning of the universe, so that there will be evidence proving that it has been, for instance, if you want to think of it as a particle, it will have gone back in time and changed the evidence to prove that it was a particle the whole time. And so that brings up the question of, is light magical? It also brings up the question of, You are creating your reality with your perception. Your expectation of what you are going to perceive literally manufactures the physical reality in which you live, and it has an effect on time. It will change time. It will go back in time and change things. So this brings up the idea of alternate timelines. Now, I'm not sold on the idea of alternate timelines. So the infinite universes theory says that there are an infinite number of universes going on all the time, where there's a version of you. Even right now, you make a choice. I've got my pineapple spirulina kombucha here, and I make the choice to pick that up, or I don't make the choice to pick it up, and that choice then creates a branch with a new timeline where there's a version of me that lives my life because he didn't pick it up, and then there's the one which I'm creating right now, which I pick it up and I take a sip. And that nourishes my body to such a degree where my mind then takes off to the next level of genius, brilliance, and then I become, the most successfully whatever. So I don't buy into that. And the reason, I shouldn't say I don't buy into it. I like the idea. And I like that question. Did a group of meditators create a different reality? So before I start talking about probabilities and getting off on that whole thing, let's take a look at, again, this question. Imagine the reality we'd be living in if the shooter succeeded. So I created this live guided interdimensional meditation event, which we do twice a week, which everybody is welcome to, doesn't matter who you are, free to anybody. I would love to see hundreds and thousands of people, millions of people doing this, because if we did, we'd shift the world instantly. Like that. So we've been doing this for a while, and the reason we were doing this is a couple of years ago, when I won't get into the whole story, but I was interacting with higher dimensional beings, and I was seeking them out, and they showed me an event that was going to happen, where there was going to be a single observable event in the sky that would be so profound that people would think that the second coming of God, whatever their religion was happening. And then as soon as that happened, then people's awareness would expand even beyond that, and they would realize that, religion is a man-made thing. Spirituality is even more intense than that, man. And then there would be this huge awakening. Now, I didn't know what that was, and I asked them about it. I said, what is this awakening? Is it a fleet of spaceships? And they said, no. It's a series of solar waves of love, that's a quote, hitting the earth, changing everything and shifting everybody up to the next level of consciousness. So when I knew that there was something about solar waves coming from the sun, I said, well, what the heck? Let's go do that. So I just, off a whim, I just decided to do this live guided meditation, and I said to everybody, now we're going to the sun, and imagine yourself in the sun, and we're sending energy to Earth. And I don't remember if there has been crazy weird things where we've done that, and at literally the moment that we do that, the sun releases, a big solar flare or a CME. That doesn't happen every time, but there were times that happened, suspiciously right as we were doing it. But that first time that I did it, just off a whim, the light beings came to me and went crazy with joy, and they were in gratitude. You have no idea what you've just done. Thank you so much. You've started, and they were. It was as if they were telling me that I just now started the event that they were talking about. I'm like, wow, that's really intense. And then I didn't do it. I didn't do these guided meditations for a while, and part of it was that I didn't believe it. I said, that's just too fantastical. But for reasons I won't get into, I did come to the conclusion that that was something that I was supposed to do. So we started doing these meditations again. And we started seeing crazy shifts happening. sometimes right after we did it, there would be these big shifts in society, in politics, and in the universe. And, of course, those of us who are doing the meditations are having these crazy experiences. And about 3 meditations ago, we did that. We went to the sun and we released energy and sent all this energy on planet Earth. We do this all the time. We chant. The chant you're hearing in the background, we chant that together and we send energy to Earth with the intention of shifting up to the next level. And after, I think it was 3 meditations ago, the light beings came to me, and again, they were absolutely overjoyed. They were celebrating. They were literally dancing around and celebrating. And they said, "You did it. You defeated the evil, the dark forces. You did it." And now I've learned not to take any of these experiences in alternate dimensions. I've learned not to take them, not become emotionally attached to them. I take them at face value. I don't try and figure it out, because they will tell you really fantastical things. And so I make an effort to believe everything that they say without becoming attached to it, meaning I come back to 3D and I don't expect anything to be different. And the truth is that my instinct is to doubt it, and everybody who does this has the same experience. They doubt what they're told. So I doubt it. So the same thing happened this time. I was told, you defeated them. You've defeated the evil, and the one message was, watch what happens. Something huge is coming that's going to change everything. And I'm like, what? They're like, we don't want you to know yet. You don't need to know that. Just know that something's coming. It's going to completely change the world, and you guys did it. So sure enough, we did another one. They gave me the same message. So they gave me the same message twice in a row, and it was very intense. And then Saturday, this happened. And you think about that. I mean, how, if you wanted to have the effect of bringing everybody together and awakening people to the reality that there is a dark force web of extremely powerful, evil people running the world, this was the perfect way to do it. And, Trump so far has had this huge shift. You can see it in him. It's humbled him. And you can see it in his face, and he's said he's no longer going to attack. He's going to focus on unity. We'll see what happens, but that wouldn't have happened. And again, all that, if he had not, if he hadn't turned his head to the right, it wouldn't have been his ear. It would have been his, would have. And think what would have happened if the shooter had succeeded. If the shooter had succeeded, what would have happened is that Trump followers would have gone completely ballistic, and I mean that literally. There would be civil war, because they would have been absolutely convinced that it was a coup. They would have had reason to believe it. I'm not here, I'm just telling you what we already know. I'm not going to make any judgments. You go ahead and do your own research and figure it out. But, here we've got the shooter's location up here, and then we've got Trump there with sniper teams next to him. Now, it doesn't take a genius to see that that is the best location where the shooter was. If somebody was planning to assassinate somebody, that would be the best possible location. So you've also got these counter sniper teams who have this guy in their sights for, I think, 2.5 minutes or 30 seconds or some crazy long period of time. You can go research it yourself. And they didn't take him out. They didn't turn his head into a canoe until after he had gotten off shots, which ended up injuring the president, almost killing him. Like, just, I mean, how many fractions of an inch would it have taken for him to be dead? And then 3 other people. One person was tragically killed. Innocent guy was tragically killed, and 2 others were critically injured. I mean, what is the likelihood of Trump, instead of having, the whole side of his head here, just turn his head just enough so that it grazed his ear? It's almost as if somebody had planned that whole event so that people would wake up. You can come to your own conclusion, but imagine if he had succeeded. We would be living in 1984. There would have been civil war, no doubt in my mind. Absolute, utter civil war. Imagine all of those Republican gun-toting people thinking that there was some conspiracy to get rid of their guy. They would have gone absolutely nuts. There would have been a civil war. And the government would have responded with martial law, would have locked everything down. They would have then turned the whole country into a police state. It would have given lawmakers the ability, and the president, to just get rid of all of our freedoms. It would have been horrible. Would have been the worst possible scenario that we could imagine. And just because Trump moved his head a little bit, it's now turned into this unifying event. So I'm not going to go into all there's so much stuff that we could be looking at, that I'm not going to do that. You can do that on your own. But that's the question I want you to ask. What would have happened if the shooter had been successful? So now let's talk about what I believe really happens when it comes to your ability to change reality. Now, I think I said in the beginning, forgive me because I get so many things in my head at one time, it's hard for me to focus on one train of thought. But I think I said in the beginning that, now I just lost my train of thought as I said that. I believe in the beginning I said that I didn't realize how powerful our intentions are. I've learned for myself intentions about my own life and creating my own perfect reality. And I just assumed that we didn't have the ability to have an effect on a larger scale. I'd heard the stories of, meditators changing things. I've heard the stories of, the Coast to Coast radio program changing the weather because a bunch of people got together. But now that we have been doing these live guided interdimensional meditations and seeing what's happening, I'm now of the belief that we have far, far more power than we ever could have imagined. And those of us who are doing these meditations, when we get into the astral realm and we're interacting with these higher dimensional beings of light, you start to be shown that on the astral level, you are far, far, far more powerful than what you experience in the 3D. And so I'm now listening to what was told to me, a couple of weeks ago, when the light being said, you did it. And I always have felt that there's might be, a lag time, that what happens in the astral realm, it takes a little while for it to show up in the 3rd dimension. But I'm thinking that there is a very real possibility that what was going to happen would have been something much more devastatingly worse. And I think that there is the possibility that groups like mine, I'm not trying to say that we're the ones that did it. I don't know. I don't know how many other people. I'm sure there are people that meditate every day to shift the world up. I know there's a lot of people. I know there's plenty of other beings outside of our dimension that are constantly focusing their intentions to shift our world up. But I believe that what was destined to happen based on, because bear in mind, the dark force elites already know this. They already know that, and they have technology. They not only have the belief in, meditating and changing the world, they have technology where they use it to expand their intentions. I'm not going to get into all of that, but that exists. And we could go into some deep rabbit holes there, which would, we'd have to get our, if you're not already wearing your tinfoil hat, we would have to get our tinfoil hat to really go deep into some of this stuff. But they already know that. So these events don't happen out of nowhere. And again, when we start looking at, how all this happened, and it's just a little too convenient, that the shooter ends up in a BlackRock commercial, that, the best location, nobody, the Secret Service doesn't put any snipers on there, that the counter snipers have the guy in their sights while he moves and points his gun at a cop who's trying to climb the roof, and then, they let him get off shots before they turn his head into a canoe. All of the crazy stuff that's been happening, with the fake Russian, plot that was exposed. Supposedly, Trump was aligned with Russia. Listen, I believed it. I totally had Trump derangement syndrome a few years ago. And, it's embarrassing to know that I had been so easily duped. That all of that was nonsense. They tried to impeach him twice. They failed. They've tried to put him in jail. All of that has failed, and it's clear that he's going to win. Their current guy can't put two sentences together. And this is the last-ditch attempt of a desperate, cornered animal. So I'm starting to believe what I was told, which is, you guys did it. You changed everything. If that's true, and I'm just telling you my experience, I'm not trying to make any kind of crazy, anyway. I'm just exploring the possibility that have human beings been focusing their intent to change the world? Did that create an alternate timeline shift? That now we are going to be able to go in the right direction. We're now going to be able to create the world that we want. There's still a lot of work left to do. The deep state has been deeply wounded. They have shot themselves in the foot, pun intended. And they are scrambling to get themselves together. More and more people are waking up, because it's just so, you can't not wonder what the hell's going on. So this is the opportunity to strike. So unlike the radio show Coast to Coast, 20, 30 years ago, when they would experiment on having the audience of Coast to Coast meditate and try and change the weather, and they successfully did it, and then the guy freaked out and he says, I'm not doing that anymore, it's too dangerous. I'm doing the opposite. I'm saying, let's meditate together with the intent of bringing them all down. Bring down the elites. Bring down the narrative. Bring down the 3D self-devalued frequency, the frequency of self-devaluation. Let's destroy that. My experience is that the light beings want us to do that. It is also my experience that only humans can do it. As I think I told you in the beginning of this video that a couple of years ago, I just, on a whim, I went and did a live stream meditation. We went to the sun and sent energy to the earth because I had been told there was going to be some solar flash event that would change the world. I said, well, let's just go do it. And after I did that, the light beings went absolutely bonkers with gratitude. Thank you so much. You have no idea. You're supposed to do this. And I put it off. I stopped doing it because it was just so freaky. And the thought of it was so freaky. For 2 years, I didn't do it. And they were telling me, you need to do this. This is your job. In fact, one light being said, let me show you something. And he took me up to the sun, and he went into the sun, and he tried to send solar energy to the earth, and he couldn't do it. He says, I can't do it. I'm not human. I'm not from Earth. Only you can do it. You're from Earth. You vibrate on the frequency of Mother Earth. If you go into the sun and you send energy, you can send energy to your home. I can't do it, but you can. And so when we get together and we do this, things change. Reality changes. I'll shut up with this, but one of the first messages I got when I first actively started doing CE5 and I actively started interacting with higher dimensional beings. I wrote about it in my book, Extraterrestrials Are Coming to Earth. You can get it on Amazon, Kindle, or Audible. Extraterrestrials Are Coming to Earth by Michael William Denny. Go look for it. I talk about how this extraterrestrial higher dimensional being came to me and he said, "You are a probability." I said, "Yes, I know. Everything is possible." And he said, and he didn't say no, but he came back and he repeated himself. "You are a probability." Now, every time he says this, I'm getting flooded with this energy and I'm being able to see and experience reality on this other level. It was very, very intense. And no, I was not on any kind of mind-altering chemicals, but it sure felt like it. And he kept repeating that over and over again. You are a probability. And I finally started meditating on that because when higher dimensional beings speak, they're not just speaking words. There's knowledge that's embedded in the vibration when it hits you. So that knowledge gets in your brain and starts expanding you in all kinds of strange ways. And I started to understand that unlike the idea of there are infinite numbers of universes going on simultaneously, there are infinite numbers of probabilities. There are infinite numbers of probable universes that are simultaneously existing. And your intention, your beliefs, your expectations, your unconscious desires, and especially your beliefs about yourself will literally take one of those infinite numbers of probabilities and manifest it. And so every single second that you are alive is a manifestation of a probable universe. If you keep the same thoughts, the same beliefs, the same expectations, you will keep creating the same probable universe over and over again with the added dimension of time moving forward. You think it's the same timeline. So I don't believe in timelines like that. I believe, however, that you can completely shift from one probable universe to another and back and forth, which would have the experience of timelines. And I think this is what the Mandela effect is. So I'm proposing the possibility that this is a Mandela effect in action. The Mandela effect is when you are shifting to a different probability, but your memory remembers a different probability. You know, is it Cheez-It or Cheez-Its? Did President Kennedy, was he assassinated in a two bench seat, or a 3 bench seat car? You know, all of those things. All of that crazy stuff. Is that really that we're misremembering it? Is it that there's multiple timelines? Or is it, what I believe is that these are multiple probable realities that we are creating? Now, having said that, and now I really will shut up. Having said that, I was also told that there will be 3 levels of Earth frequency. And so I believe that there is an Earth frequency, which if you want to call it a timeline, you can, and you want to accuse me of contradicting myself, I'm okay with that. I believe that there is a reality where the shooter was successful, and it has created that police state. I think it's possible that more and more people are going to start shifting down to that because they can't allow themselves to be loved and to expand. So whether you choose to believe that is fine. I don't need to believe it either, but I'm going to hold on to that possibility that we've shifted We've created a different probability, a different timeline, if you will, and that if we continue to do this work, we can continue to keep shifting. The energy is moving in our direction. What is going to happen just from the fact that Donald Trump almost lost his life and is now really thinking about everything, and he has changed his tune, and now he's going to start working towards unity and love. I mean, that's going to make him irresistible, especially when you've got the other side doing the opposite. And when more and more people start to think, hey, maybe, they almost JFK'd him. He must be doing something that they don't like. He must be working on our behalf. More and more people start thinking like that. More and more people start realizing that you've been lied to this whole time, and more people are letting go of the fear. And they're allowing their righteous anger, which is a desire to protect yourself and love yourself, defend yourself. That more and more people are going to allow that energy to push them towards creating the earth that we deserve to live on. All right, so anyway, I hope you all show up for that. This is what quantum shifting is all about. In case you want to check it out, go to thunderwizard.com. Quantum shifting #1 is free. You can watch it there. And the 90-day challenge, go do that. This stuff works. But whatever you do, please come and meditate with us. We're going to be meditating today, Wednesday, in about 5.5 hours from the time that I'm the time that I'm filming this. So 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, Wednesdays and Saturdays. And I am going to do the opposite of what I forget the guy's name was, the Coast to Coast guy, Art Bell. I'm going to do the opposite of what Art Bell did. Art Bell got scared because his listeners had the ability to change the weather. We're going to change the world. And I have every intention of putting all of my focus on completely destroying the Dark Force elite infrastructure. And when that happens, and when you start hearing what has really been going on, and when the average person sees what has really been going on, there will be nothing to stop this shift. So become a part of this. This is a righteous spiritual warrior event. We are going to spiritual war against dark, evil spiritual forces, and we can destroy them. And I'd love to have you be a part of that. Come check us out. Check out all the links here, thunderwizard.com. And yeah, that's it. I wish you guys all the best. Please know you are the most powerful being that has ever existed. That the entire universe was created solely for your pleasure, for your personal satisfaction. And when you spend all of your time and energy in experiencing the desires of your soul, all conscious beings in the universe evolve. And the most powerful gods get on their knees and they thank you and they worship you, as do I. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't exist. You created everything. And I hope you'll show up and be a part of our meditative club. That's it, my friends. Lastly, those of you who are doing these live guided interdimensional meditations and you're having intense experiences and you're having a hard time figuring out what reality is, we've got this live Zoom class and discussion group, which you can check out by subscribing to it at thunderwizard.com. Again, subscribing to thunderwizard.com doesn't mean subscribing for free. You won't get anything by doing that. Doesn't benefit you, doesn't benefit me or the channel. You have to subscribe to one of the specific subscription tiers to get the benefits of it. So there's one specifically for this live Zoom class if you want to be a part of it. That's it, my friends. I love you all. I wish you all the best, and I will see you all very soon. Until such time, please be very good to yourselves. I'll see you later.